Hey everyone, we just got back from probably our most efficient trip as a show, upstate to Ithaca, New York. Usually when we go on tour, tensions run high, we're all irritated by something, we all miss the creature comforts of home. But something just clicked this time. There was something we all felt wash over us among the gorges of upstate New York, a shared emotion or an aura. I'm talking about good vibes. Past tours, we've had a surfeit of bad vibes. Not this time. This time, our vibes were perfectly aligned. When you're walking downhill at 2 a.m., drunk and high past unfamiliar houses in an unfamiliar town, that's good vibes. When you're walking beside a rushing stream at the bottom of a gorge, just hucking bottle caps and spent jewel pods into the water, that's good vibes. And it made me realize that we've carried on neglecting our vibes for far too long. We talk about some aspects of political praxis on the show, listening to podcasts, posting about comic book movies, doing politics. But there's an entire political dimension that we've yet to address. Now, I'm a supporter of Bernie Sanders. I want him to win the nomination in the White House. That course of events aligns with my political goals. But I recognize there is a vital debate going on for the future of not just the Democratic Party, but of the emerging left majority against austerity, against neoliberalism, against the ravages of the climate crisis. There's been much discussion lately about the likes of Sanders and Warren expanding the Overton window, where socialized medicine, debt forgiveness, Green New Deal, ICE abolition, and so on become mainstream positions. And were it not for the spoiler factor of the dozen plus other candidates in the race, I could see how a good faith debate between these two politicians would be salutary for the left. And in that spirit, I think it's time for the Overton window to expand even further. I think it's time to lift the curtains of that window and peer through it, to pierce the veil of reality and observe the realm beyond full of shimmering orbs. Imagine, if you will, the classic two-dimensional political alignment chart. The axes are economy, social issues. Now imagine adding a third axis, expanding it into a three-dimensional political cube. Now imagine adding a fourth axis, turning it into what scientists call a time cube. There is one candidate who will accomplish this. If you listened to last week's premium episode, you heard our introduction to Democratic presidential candidate Marianne Williamson. She's a spiritual guru, a fellow best-selling author, a fellow friend of Oprah. And she is the first true metaphysician to be a major party presidential candidate, as Nate Silver has recently declared. Like Sanders, Williamson is following a truly revolutionary path in politics. Most politicians will talk about the Department of Energy, but not our orgone energy. They talk about our political alignment, but not our chakra alignment. They talk about third way politics, but not third eye politics. Williamson is different. Her discourse is the perfect antidote to neoliberal HR speak and centrist obfuscation. Her positions include lifting the vibrational frequency of the universe, creating a unified field of energy on invisible planes, dispersing the thought forms of insanity that are tearing us apart, and enjoying good vibes with your friends. As we all know, God is dead. As people of my generation approach middle age, the late 30s, we are increasingly concerned with existential questions. Who am I? Can I trust my senses? Are dreams real? Without religion, we suffer from a deficiency of mysticism, the sort that has existed in every society. Certainly, we must focus on material forces, but we cannot deny this primal need, this current political factor. For most of us, we filled this void with politics anyway. Trump supporters have the Trump prophecy. Everyone else is just eating the lotus flowers of online. Perhaps your faith lies in the book of Robert Mueller. Perhaps you think your salvation will come from posting Twitter threads that are like, okay, buckle the fuck up, y'all, because today we're talking about how the Lego movie is just fucking gross to survivors of imposter syndrome. If we are to find a way out of the subsuming of politics by spectacle, to return to a politics of materialism, who better to lead us there than a spiritualist with aggressive social democratic views conversant in the language of political mysticism? Now, Williamson isn't perfect. Her position on BDS is terrible, and I'm not sold on her stance on the mind-body problem. But good anti-capitalists make similar criticisms of Sanders or AOC. Like them, Williamson expands the political time cube, paving the way for more sophisticated, transcendental politics. Did you know in 2016, Williamson endorsed Bernie Sanders? Here's a quote from her open letter to Hillary Clinton. I want a woman president. Really, I do. A lot of us do. And yes, you're so qualified. And yes, we've known you forever. And yes, you know what to do from day one. We all get that. But none of that is good enough to get my vote, or the vote of a lot of people I know. We only want to vote for you if you run like hell away from that corporate box you've landed in. I'm telling you, Hillary, the American people have become hip to what's happening. We know now that Wall Street runs the country and we don't like it. And for many of us, we don't want to vote for you if Wall Street runs you too. Now, you might be worrying, what if she takes votes from Bernie? That's a serious concern. Here's the thing. Bernie's target demographics and Marianne's are very different. Bernie is pursuing young voters, working class voters, African-American, Latino voters. Marianne appeals to a different demo entirely, one that we categorize in our best-selling book. I'm talking about the wine mom. You might have someone in your life, a wine mom, an Asti aunt, who nominally agrees with Medicare for All, with breaking up the banks, with the Guaranteed Jobs program, but fucking hates Bernie Sanders. Who's going to reach that person? It's not going to be you. She's already reported you to the FBI for being alt-right because you said that Chelsea Clinton's never had a real job. But you know who can? Oprah's spiritual advisor. Imagine Marianne sitting down with your wine mom, knees to knees, her face full of patient confidence, asking her, how can you hate Bernie Sanders when you and he are connected by a vibrating strand of energy like an umbilical cord? Imagine, if you will, a political movement that could make Matt Crispin finally relax with divine energy. Before last week's premium episode, Marianne Williamson needed over 10,000 unique donors to qualify for the first primary debate. As of now, she needs fewer than 8,000. There's a hell of a lot more than 8,000 people listening to this show. So if you can, I hope you will join me in donating just $1 to Marianne Williamson to get her in that debate. I know you love to give feedback. You can even write in the comments of that donation, from a Chapo Trap House listener, I want the orbs. Show me the orbs. Sanders Williamson 2020. Show me the orbs.
For a rare time after one of Virgil's monologues, I do not have a rebuttal.
Yeah.
I have a statement in support. You guys know my favorite video of all time, right? You know what I'm talking about. Fake LA bitches, clout sharks, all that, right? Do you mind if I read the greatest tweet from one of the stars of that video, FaZe Banks?
Go right ahead.
Another mass shooting, 30 minutes away from where I live. 12 people dead for absolutely no reason. Could have easily been me. Could have easily been you. Where the fuck do these weirdos come from? When are we going to get our shit together? Fucked vibes. See, okay, this is similar to Bernie, okay? Because, like, people don't know the language of democratic socialism. They don't know what means of production is. They don't make memes where them and their friends are in a car and it says, get in, comrade, we're seizing the means of production, and they're all making Detroit things. But they know in their hearts that, like, Comcast sucks. They know their lives are fucked. They know that they're constantly humiliated, and not just because they're sending girls you up messages at 2 p.m. They know that there's something out there. And do you think FaZe Banks, like, fully understands Williamson's spiritual science? No. Most people don't. Most people couldn't spend, a fucking week in an advanced astrology program. They couldn't tell you what part of the orb is which, but they know that there are fucked vibes. When they look at mass shootings, when they look at cloud chasing bitches, when they go to a party in LA and it's just so not them, they know that there's something wrong out there. I think there's a silent majority behind Williams, like Virgil has stated. And if Bernie can harness this, he won't just be a president. He will be, like in that Virginia Heffernan essay, an actual white hot ball of energy that Hillary never could.
Yeah, I would also add that I was initially very skeptical of Marianne and her divine wisdom,
but that bitch is almost 67 years old, and she looks like that. So she's
She
doing
looks
something right.
amazing.
She is so hot. She is insanely hot at 67. So she knows something.
Yeah,
she knows something.
She's got a vibe. She's got some sort of vibration around her. That's
you
for
know,
sure.
Marianne could easily publish a best-selling book for money that's called like the Beauty Secret.
Oh my God.
Or like a cheapo diet book, but she's never done that.
She doesn't
never,
care about that.
Never
She cares
sold
about
out.
No.
spirituality.
She's not like one of those Christians who writes a book that's called like the King David Work Week. Teaches you, biblical productivity methods.
Yeah, Solomon
She wouldn't
skincare.
do that.
I agree definitely that Williamson could be the bridge to the wine moms, but there's another demographic that I think could really benefit from some exposure to her wisdom, and that is the disaffected white male neat internet psychos
Yang gang.
who started as Trump guys and are now kind of disillusioned with all the real hardcore Nazi shit and are migrating to Yang. Yang is the middle course of their evolution away from sort of the spiritually dead realm of online where it's brutal hierarchy and the only thing that matters is perceived intelligence and ability to be totally callous and have no real soul. Like that's the strongest guy is the guy who doesn't feel anything. To a world where they access their spiritual side and realize, there's something more to life than just being miserable on the internet.
Right.
And they need to move from Yang to Williamson.
It's happening in stages. Like the lumpen is crawling out
Right.
of the morass,
Out of the primordial
and like
ooze of the
Yang is
internet.
the first step.
Yeah.
Williamson is
she's the next.
absolutely.
They're going to open those third eyes up.
And I think one of the ways that we could aid in that, and we game this out a little bit before the Cornell show by inaugurating a dank Marianne Williamson meme stash.
Yes.
Memes for Marianne.
Memes for Marianne, and like the first one I thought of, the classic one where it's the soldier kneeling to protect a sleeping child, and there's just a hail of knives and bullets going into his back, and then you just take the text, all the knives and bullets, negative energies, bad vibes, incorrect frequencies of universal vibration. The soldier, Marianne Williamson. The sleeping child, all of us.
The Galaxy Brain meme was made for her.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Also-
guys. I think it's time for our equivalent of the plumbers plumbers, our equivalent of creep. We have to repurpose Gritty to be about vibe.
Yes, you got to get those gritty vibes. Also, the frog prophet meme, another one perfectly made for Marianne.
Absolutely.
Imagine
Yeah,
the
the prophet and
bedraggled pauper on the left, Yang Gang, and it's neat bucks, accelerationism, automation, alienation. On the other side, with the smiling frog prophet, Williamson gang, and it's orbs. Good vibes,
Spiritual
positive
fulfillment.
vibrations,
If-
spiritual consciousness.
If Andrew Yang is a movie, he's Ready Player One. No one likes that. No one. You don't want to do
Oh my
that
God,
shit.
so is.
You don't want to watch that fucking movie again. But if Marianne Williamson's a movie, it's the Wachowski sisters' seminal classic from 2012, Cloud Atlas.
It's a very orb vibe movie.
I'm not.
Yeah.
No cap. It is. Has anyone actually seen Cloud Atlas?
I have seen
been
Cloud
meaning
Atlas.
to.
It is
Of course I have.
goddamn
Of
moving.
course I have.
It's incredibly cheesy, but it's disarming and moving.
It rocks.
really
I
is.
love that movie.
Here's one. Get in, loser. We're going beyond the veil.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess this will kicks off our transition into being full-time Williamson wonks. You like Williamson wonks or Williamson wags more?
I don't know. I think it needs to be workshopped.
Okay, we'll put it.
I think it should just be Psychonauts. Let's shift the paradigm, dude. We don't need a cutesy pun name. We just need to say who we are, what our beliefs are. We need to learn our lesson from reformist sheepdog shills like Jeremy Corbyn and Nicolas Maduro. Take a little tip from their marketing and apply it to a real radical like Williamson.
This is
Let's
a
do it, boys.
Well, people need people who speak in plain language with clear moral priorities about how death is an illusion and reality exists in the four-dimensional space known as time, which is actually an illusion.
Bread and butter stuff.
Yeah.
This is a good lead-in to something we haven't done in about 2 months, a little election update. Since we last talked about it, the Democratic field has expanded to 20 candidates. I tip my hat to Matt, who called that a few months ago.
Yeah, man.
20
The
for
clown car.
2020.
The clown car is just filling up right now. All right, folks?
Oh, I feel like a soy boy in Clown World.
Nearly a half dozen more are still considering. Steve Bullock,
Hell
remember
yeah, go
that
for it.
guy?
Who?
Yes.
No,
Bill de
I don't.
Blasio?
Wait,
Steve
Governor
Bullitt?
of Montana. Governor of Montana.
And his name is Steve Bullitt.
Yeah,
Bullock.
Bullock.
Oh.
Like
Seth Bullock.
like Seth Bullock,
Oh,
and
okay.
he's from Montana too. So
Well,
maybe they're
I've
related.
got to support him. He's pissed.
Yeah, he's super pissed. I think Michael Bennett is still flirting with it.
Yes.
De
De
Blasio.
Blasio's insane.
Terry
to me.
McAuliffe actually finally said he wasn't, which is like,
Stacey Abrams hasn't actually said no.
yeah, man. Let's get them all in there. Get the other Castro brother in there. Let's go for it.
So we think it'd be helpful. I put together a little field guide to help identify your newest Democratic presidential candidates. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the ones polling at 0%, not 1%, 0%.
Shine on,
All
you
of the ones
crazy
who are
diamonds.
polling under the teenage meme campaign.
What do you say? You ready?
Yeah, let's
Let's do it.
I'm readier than I've ever been.
Okay, leading off, Seth Moulton, congressman from Massachusetts, representing a district north of Boston, Iraq War veteran, Harvard MBA, member of the New Democrat Coalition. He won his seat in 2014 in a primary against incumbent John Tierney. During that campaign, he was endorsed by General Stanley McChrystal. The Lugar Center's bipartisanship index ranked him the most bipartisan member of Congress from New England.
Well, from New England?
He's best known for two things. One is he supposedly won these military awards and downplayed it. All very, very bashful of it because he's not one of those guys who, just tells war stories all the time.
He just uses that as a springboard to run for Congress.
He's probably best known for this. Gracing the front page of the New York Daily News wearing his combat uniform, holding an AR caliber assault carbine rifle with the caption, in quotation marks, "No civilian should own this gun." From his op-ed, "I trained for years in order to use my weapon properly. And long before I ever aimed it at an individual, I had to
Which
look...
I definitely did numerous
Oh my
times.
God.
Little ones too, little tiny individuals, and they're harder to hit.
Before I ever aimed at an individual, I had to look at pictures of dead and mangled bodies in order to understand the magnitude of what it meant to pull that trigger."
And how cool it is.
I went
Yeah,
on...
I went rotten.com too, Seth.
This is like when like you used to watch like televised Scared Straight, and the kids were just confused.
Yeah.
So believe me when I tell you, there is simply no reason for a civilian to own a military-style assault weapon. It's no different than why we outlaw civilian ownership of rockets and landmines.
Which is bullshit too.
I should have a tank.
Absolutely. He also unsuccessfully ran against Nancy Pelosi
Nope.
for speaker.
Nope.
Is that correct?
No, you're thinking of someone
No,
else.
you're getting mixed up with Tim Ryan, who he's...
Oh no, but I thought Moulton led the insurgency or something. I thought they were both in on it. Him and Ryan.
They might have been. They might have been scheming together.
I think
in
they
their
were
own
scheming together.
Gambo thrones.
I know he's a guy who's like he's one of these guys who's trying to get the Democrats are going too far left lane, right? He's like we gotta remember that we're a country of two parties and we need to be reasonable.
I think so. All the white guy, no-name congressmen are basically gunning for that lane. He's also seems like an anti-gun guy, which leads to our next fellow.
Wait, I just want to hit
Oh, wait,
I want to see a Seth Moulton.
I am the politics editor of Chris Evans' new political website, and I've been taken off supporting Donald Trump because I did too good of a job of it, and now they put me in charge of supporting Seth Moulton. I just want to point out, Seth Moulton was in the military, so if any Republican tries to say he's a pussy or likes terrorism, he could just post a picture of him in the army. They could never do that. Like, if someone was in the army, that's like instant, like, the Republicans have to respect them. So I
Right,
will be
gotcha.
supporting him.
Like that thundering man, John Kerry, and yeah.
Nobody. Yeah, they didn't say a thing about it.
Democrats keep thinking this is going to work, though, right? They're
Yeah.
like, look, we have a tough guy, and it's like they don't care. They do not care.
Oh, I'm not a patriot. I watched thousands of hours of Crush videos to learn to fire this weapon, sir.
I want to see a Seth Moulton campaign ad where it's just like it's him and he's pointing a military style machine gun. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it.
An AR style machine
An
gun.
AR style machine gun with a clip full of cartridges. And he's pointing it at you. It's like directly, like you're just seeing it, just staring down the barrel of a gun. And he's like, "Hi, I'm Seth Moulton. if you see this image, you should only be in a country other than America.
It would immediately get turned into, what you see, what she sees.
Except the she in that question is the famous National Geographic Afghan girl.
Oh, see, we're so good at memes.
How come Seth Moulton and Pete Buttigieg could do this thing like, I've walked around foreign countries with this gun. It should never be in the streets of America. But when my anti-police brutality campaign, which I've raised awareness of through swatting people, I'm like under federal indictment. I don't know why. It's the same thing.
Number 2, Eric Swalwell. Eric Swallows. Congressman from Northern California. He's another guy who won a primary against an incumbent Democrat, this time Pete Stark. You remember Pete Stark, 20-term incumbent, who was reliably pretty left during the Bush years, best known for being an atheist. Like Moulton, Swalwell's pitch was that he's young and unprincipled. According to his biography, quote, the September 11th terrorist attacks occurred during his internship, inspiring him to public service.
Where was he interning?
Like the Hill, probably.
Geekos.
BlackRock Eagle Trust.
In his first term, he broke House rules to post a vine of himself voting against an anti-abortion bill. In 2015, he launched the bipartisan Sharing Economy Caucus with genuine evil person Darrell Issa.
Sharing economy.
Darrell Issa is a big fan of people sharing their cars with him.
I love sharing. I love sharing the economy. It rules. Isn't that just communism?
That's socialism.
Isn't that the sharing economy?
The sharing
what the fuck are you even talking about?
At his campaign launch, Swalwell said, I pledge to lead our country with a team of rivals, a blended cabinet of Republicans and Democrats, not because it will be easy, and we may have to send out a search party to find more Republicans who can put country over party.
Ray LaHood, you're going back in.
I pledge to lean over and grab my ankles. That again. Wait, what year was this?
When he said that?
Yeah.
He said that like a week ago.
Yeah, like 3 weeks.
At his campaign launch.
Okay, cool. That's good to know we've learned things since Obama.
Well, you don't think that between Kathleen Sibelius and Charlie Kirk, we couldn't get the best solution for people? If you get Sebastian Gorka and Samantha Powers, I guess, we couldn't, get something going here.
Secretary of State Meghan McCain. Make it happen, Eric.
A Gillibrand Bannon collaboration.
Yeah, look, we learned from the adventures that sometimes the most unlikely allies are the greatest of friends. So I think the same thing applies politically.
By 2021, a cabinet of rivals would be half Proud Boys and half like gritty Avatar guys.
I'm in favor of that. If the cabinet meetings are held at the bottom of the ocean.
Swalwell's also trying to be the anti-gun guy.
Yeah, like we said, that's a smart market. That's a very emotive issue for Democrats.
Everyone loves that.
Yeah, and it doesn't threaten any major donor bases.
Next one, 3rd Congressman Tim Ryan, another fucking white guy congressman. Tim Ryan represents.
Why are they all running as separate people?
Yeah, they're the same guy. Tim Ryan represents a district in Ohio that includes Youngstown. He worked for friend of the show Jim Trafficant before succeeding him.
Which means that he just was in charge of delivering giant bags of OxyContin and like counterfeit doubloons to his tractor farm.
He was in charge of the teleportation device that beamed him up.
He used to use like the glue stick to swaddle that fucking toupee on his head.
Ryan's probably best known for voting for the Stupak Amendment, which almost derailed Obamacare by restricting the use of federal funds for abortions. You remember that bullshit, Matt?
I remember Stupak. Gotta love Bart Stupak.
In 2016, he challenged Pelosi from the right for the position of House Minority Leader. And he's also a published author. In 2015...
So are we, big deal.
In 2015, he published The Real Food Revolution, Healthy Eating, Green Groceries, and the Return of the American Family Farm, which is one of those, hey, you fat piece of shit, fuck you books. The promotion...
I love books like that like just tell, hog-faced people, hey, don't eat 3 slices of white bread with every meal.
The promotional copy starts with this. We Americans love our food. It's part of what has made this nation great.
No other culture enjoys food. It's very uniquely American.
What?
And we don't enjoy food. We just kind of like sit glumly over a trough to numb the pain. That's not enjoying food. The whole thing is that we're poor and sad.
Enjoying food made this
People
country
literally
great.
just shovel GMO corn corn rinds into their mouth while watching, young Sheldon, the puberty years.
And we love.
There's no enjoyment.
It's our love of food that made this country great.
But here's the thing.
God damn, that's good.
Ryan
You made this
is
country great by being a big bitch.
Ryan.
I'm trying to remember. There was a restaurant chain that I once went to the website of because those are always funny, and the copy talked about like what they believed in, and they said that America loves eating and eating out, and we reflect those values in our restaurant.
That's a choice of words.
I mean,
So does this show.
nothing represents America more than just like a really pushy guy making an aggressive soy face who constantly talks about how good he is at eating pussy. That's America. America loves eating out.
Ryan is also competing for Marianne's voters. In 2012, he published A Mindful Nation, How a Simple Practice Can Help Us
Fuck
Reduce
you.
Stress, Improve Performance, and Recapture the American Spirit. This is from his author bio. Congressman Ryan has a daily mindfulness meditation practice. He has been an outspoken advocate for promoting mindfulness practice as an aid to dealing with a variety of complex problems facing the nation. During his tenure in the House, he has helped to get mindfulness and social and emotional learning programs established in several schools in his district.
That would be awesome if they replace all those stupid fake job retraining programs for laid off factory workers with mindfulness training.
I'm pretty sure that's his pitch.
Yeah, I mean, because it'll have as much of an effect. people's lives.
Mindfulness
It's yelling
has,
at people to stop eating corn and meditate more.
mindfulness has to be like the most insulting thing that rich people have come up with in the last 15 years. Just like, don't think about where your life's going. Don't think about how your kids are just going to breathe poison air and die, and how, President Xi is probably their only hope. Just, think about the now. Think about how fortunate you are to be watching, The Good Wife 2, The Good Ex-Wife. Just live in the moment. It's so fucking insulting. Of course, this fucking cornball's into that shit.
What I don't understand is like this sounds like a dude who represents Marion County, not fucking Youngstown, Ohio. Is he going into this town that's been basically bombed out for 40 years to people who have not even like had a whiff of a job in decades and said, "Have you tried mindfulness and farm to table dining?"
They keep
Yeah,
reelecting him.
Amazing.
People in Youngstown try to get their kids internships with the town's fent dealer. It's a land that God forgot, and this is what he's giving them. What a fucking prick!
Look, those are the congressmen. Let's go up a tier to the governors. Jay Inslee, governor of Washington State, he's the climate change guy. In 2007, he wrote a book called Apollo's Fire, Igniting America's Clean Energy Economy.
That's kind of
Okay,
badass,
man.
I gotta say.
His whole pitch is, as a governor, he has all these practical ideas for making the Green New Deal work. If you go to his website, he doesn't have an issues page. He has a page called Climate Mission. The problem is, he hasn't actually released any policies. Also, he gave $8 billion in tax breaks to Boeing.
known clean energy superpower Boeing.
Boeing is a third worldist company that's trying to dissuade anyone from taking airplanes.
Here's the thing: we're gonna put a thing in the planes that makes them crash, and then you have to pay more for it not to do that.
Yeah, as a leftist, you have to support Boeing. I'm sorry.
They certainly are heightening the contradictions.
Yeah, I support Boeing, Lori Loughlin, and Ninja, and QAnon as a leftist. I write for Slate now.
Well, you want a guy, he's the climate change guy, the anti-climate change guy.
Well, he wants to just have one debate that's just about climate change, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
honestly, there should be.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. What the fuck?
This next guy is the pro-climate change guy. John Hickenlooper, governor of Colorado. His whole story is he started a brew pub in Denver and was against weed decriminalization for many, many years.
Oh, right. They're Xing out the competition.
Here's what's fun about Hickenlooper. He loves fracking so much. He wants to kiss and cuddle fracking. He directed state attorneys to sue local governments that ban fracking. He appeared in a paid ad for the Colorado Oil and Gas Association, saying that fracking is totally safe. And here's my favorite. He drank fracking cum. Testifying for the U.S. Senate in 2013, Hickenlooper said the following about fracking fluid. You can drink it. We did drink it around the table, almost ritual-like, in a funny way. It was a demonstration. They've invested millions of dollars in what is a benign fluid in every sense.
Almost ritual-like.
Yeah, this is like
It's like when
fossil
they would-
fuel spirit cooking.
He does
This
pee.
is also like when they would spray kids with like DDT.
yeah,
and we're like,
they'd run
look,
behind
they're
the trucks.
fine.
Yeah,
He's doing Pizzagate for fracking.
yeah.
I do
Well,
like the
I mean, I'm happy for the variety, to be honest.
I do like the ritual aspect of it, though. I mean, like that's getting into sort of Marianne mindset. Where
Yeah.
just, like,
Yeah.
you sit around a table and pass around a cup of fracking.
Yeah, but that's dark magic.
Well,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
is.
Yes.
I mean, I that is the thing that I like about Hickenlooper. He is the most black-pilled candidate we've ever seen, more than Donald Trump. He is
Absolutely.
the god of death. I like if you've just totally given up, if you accidentally called, your work wife, whatever the fuck that is. I see it on Twitter a lot. I think it's just something people made up. If you call her mom, if you accidentally CC your boss like a picture of the brown spot on your asshole that's been there since you were a kid, vote for Hickenlooper. None of this will last.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
there's
just,
only one God, and his name is death.
I'm
Always
just
does.
happy for the variety. Like you said, you can't really tell most of these other guys apart. At least there's one evil. I think they should run. I think they should do the "It's Always Sunny" thing, like where Mac and Charlie, like applied with one resume for like
Yeah.
the same job.
Yeah, no, they should either do Human Centipede or
Yeah.
get one big suit where they're all connected.
Oh my God!
They should
Yeah,
get some kind of gigantic shirt that has 5
Yeah,
head
exactly.
holes.
Yes.
like the Knights of
God,
Knee
yeah.
kind
Yeah,
of
the
thing.
Knights
Yeah.
of Need. That's so much combined
Yeah.
experience and bipartisanship. They could really turn this country around.
Rounding things out, there is one last candidate who recently joined the race, former Vice President J.O. Biden. We've talked about Uncle Joe on this program in the past, and he is probably the least Marianne out of all the candidates, including Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
So unMarianne.
In the 80s, he wanted to triple the drug war. He said, we needed a D-Day, not a Vietnam for drugs, and lamented
D-Day!
that too many drug users were having their cases dropped.
Like that Duterte. He went with that policy too.
And in 2000s, he wrote the strongly anti-vibe Rave Act, a bill targeting ecstasy users and had the effect of making venue owners afraid to implement harm reduction.
Oh God, what a fucking buzzkill. Like he is Uncle Buzzkill. That's his whole life has been just making everybody's time less chill. And you know what? I've said on the show before that he's going to start draining support as soon as he announces, and I'm starting to think I'm wrong and that he's actually going to be the fucking nominee and that he's going to lose to Trump. Partially because that's
I
just the
agree.
funniest thing I can imagine happening.
I guess his polls aren't...
That's what I've been saying since the beginning, because it's like all the shit that we talk about, like all the people who are like, argue, oh, Warren's actually to the left of Bernie. I'm my dream candidacy is, fucking Jay Inslee and Andrew Gillum, but from the left. None of that matters. The average person just thinks Joe Biden is epic and he's gonna win and then he's gonna lose to Trump. I've been saying that since the jump.
I mean, it would be a
Joe Biden's
Sideshow
the man
Bob
to
and the
beat.
Rakes type situation. Just the same thing repeated exactly over again with the same result.
I'm sticking with my guns on it. He's going to bleed support. Like he's not making it out of this primary. And also remember, it's a fucking marathon, not a sprint. Everyone fucking makes up their minds like a week before the caucus or the New Hampshire primary.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they're
but I
gonna make
just
up their
think-
minds for the epic guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like he reminds them of Obama. People want to go back to normal.
Biden
They don't
can
really
win.
have
Yeah,
ideology.
He's got that Obama halo for some reason,
Yeah.
but everything seemed more stable during the Obama years. It's
Yeah.
hard not to fault them. They could at least, have
Yeah.
a nice waspy dinner where no one yelled at anyone else.
Yeah, and you can tell that like these primary voters are not ideological because so many of them, their preferences are ranked 1-2 Bernie Biden or vice versa.
Keep this in mind. When Kamala Harris announced, everyone freaked out about it, right? She's going to be the one to beat. And then
Then
Beto...
she opened her mouth.
Then Beto announced, and he was the one everyone was scared of. Look at him on fucking Vanity Fair. Oh, everyone's so fucking stupid and image obsessed that they're going to vote for this fucking guy. He's at like 4% now.
Yeah, because
It's
Mayor
true.
Pete
Then Mayor
swooped
Pete-
in and made
Mayor
this
Pete
whole
will
thing.
decline. He will decline.
He's currently
with
declining.
his little
He's
gerbil teeth. No one likes him.
way down from his peak.
But I've said this since before there was like the cattle call. I'm like, Biden's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to think that's the
Keep
case,
this in
too.
mind.
Yeah.
There are two ways you can pull the race, generally speaking, without getting into stuff like likely voter screens and shit like that. Two ways you could pull a race of fucking 20 people. One is to read the polling respondent all 20 names
Mhm.
and then have them specify which one they support. And in polls like that, Biden gets like 30% nationwide. But the other way to do it is just say, hey, so who are you going to vote for in Democratic, primary? The vast majority of people, like 55, 60%, have no response to that question. Biden gets like 13% when you ask that nationwide. In at this point in like 2003, Joe Lieberman is like 50% in these polls.
Yeah, that's what I always have to remind myself.
Rudy Giuliani is like 40, 50% at this point in 2007.
But the thing
Well,
is,
he
that
had
at
sex
this point,
appeal.
Bernie has a comparable name recognition to Biden, kind of. I mean, after running 4 years ago, it just makes me worried that like he's hit a ceiling,
I think people are also going to just sort of be extremely cautious.
That's the thing.
and they
Democratic primary
think
voters
that it's safer.
are these terrified little gerbils. They're
Yeah.
so scared
They're
because
little
they
buddy
want to
judges,
beat.
little
They want
gerbil
to beat
teeth.
the guy. They want to beat the big bad guy, and they'll do anything that it takes.
So they'll get a different big bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like the way that they all, every fucking still to this day amazes me. On 2004, you had a large field. It wasn't as big, but it was probably 10 people. You had Dean leading for most of it, leading up to the Iowa caucus, and then spontaneously, without any kind of precipitating incident, really, a week or 2 weeks before, everyone just goes over to John Kerry, who had been polling at single digits and had to take out a mortgage to keep
Kerry
his
and
campaign
Edwards.
going.
Kerry
What?
and Edwards.
Right,
They,
but mostly- but Kerry-
took 1 and 2 in the Iowa caucus, went for months. Dean and Gephardt
Right.
were the 1 and 2 polling.
And it was just like there was this like fucking reptile fear response all clicked off in their head as it got closer to the actual vote, and they were just so terrified of the prospect of Bush winning again. They're like, who can we get? It's like Army Man, he will protect us. And it's like, how does that not happen again?
Honestly, I think in that particular instance, this was just a matter of the Howard Dean campaign just fucking imploding.
Well, they was a bad.
I mean, the big
campaign.
story was Dean and Gephardt, running millions of dollars in attack ads on each other, and they basically destroyed each other before Iowa.
That's true, but I mean, there's no way to guarantee that that's not going to happen again.
No, sure, but I'm saying we just don't know either way what's going to happen the fucking last week of January 2020.
Yeah, but it would be funny if Biden got it and then lost.
It would be kind of funny, yeah.
Oh, this one was from New York Magazine today. This is sort of it touches on Biden, but it's about the 2020 candidates, and it's sort of a piece with the things we did the last couple of New York Times articles about Neera Tanden, and then all of the sort of stop Sanders momentum.
That Neera thing. She was Klobucharing. She's like, I didn't punch him, I shoved him. Jesus, bitch.
This is like of a piece of that. This is from New York Magazine. This is about like Wall Street and how they're freaking out about the 2020 Democrats. And it says here, there is tremendous fear, said one banker who was there. This is at like, another one of these dinners where they're just like, scheming to stop Bernie, or, scheming to be like, America seems to think we have undue influence over the political process. How can we meet together in private to stop the candidates we don't like from ever gaining purchase?
Drinking goblets full of blood.
Yeah. So he says, there is tremendous fear, said one banker who was there. The candidates who have long cultivated relationships with Wall Street, such as Cory Booker and Kristen Gillibrand, were struggling to gain traction and had grown more hostile to finance as their party had. Joe Biden, leading in early polls, had a comforting history in the Obama White House and a reputation as an establishment Democrat, but had never until a few months ago maintained any meaningful relationship with Wall Street. So this is before he announced his candidacy. There was just one other section that I highlighted here. It says here, before Trump won, Hillary Clinton had outraised him by a margin of more than 4-1 among the financial crowd, which had long regarded him as a pariah because of his shady record and bankruptcies. Now, the anti-corporate, anti-Wall Street direction of the Democratic Party is driving Democrats into the Trump camp, which is, in most cases, the last place they want to be, said Catherine Wild, CEO of the Partnership for New York City, the business group that counts among its members all of the city's major financial institutions. The fact that he's raised as much money as he has is a reflection of how many Democrats are holding their nose and supporting him because they feel demonized by the Democrats.
Aww.
So yeah, this is
guys.
so the Wall Street guys are just like, they're going to do the same thing we've been saying over and over again. Why are you making us vote for Trump? Why are you making us do this? And
Why couldn't you just pick Cory Booker? Why couldn't you just pick someone we can trust? What's wrong with you people?
And then right here at the sort of last graph here, it says, over coffee recently in Midtown, an investment pro with a long history in Democratic politics described the struggle to resist the unexpected pull of Trump. What matters more, he asked, looking up at me, my social values or my paycheck? I wonder which one you're going to pump for.
Just slowly loading like a tube sock full of oranges, saying this is going to hurt me a lot more than it's going to hurt you. No, I mean, like, I actually kind of like that they're getting that stuff out of them, because like you can't moralize that. You're just like, look, this is how people behave rationally. We've created a society which incentivizes this stuff, and you can get angry about it, or you can just be extremely practical and be like, well, they have the money and we have the numbers and we have to play that game.
It's certainly better than fucking this.
You're not going to shame them. They don't have shame.
Fake, like conscious capitalism where they're trying to say like we represent values here in Wall Street, and Donald Trump is in opposition to those. Horseshit.
Yeah, FT just did a profile on Warren Buffett that was really interesting, and it led with the, I have more fun than any 5,000-year-old man you'd meet. And he's like, I mean, like, first of all, they had like 3 people interviewing him. It was super weird. And it's like, I'm going to drink a Coca-Cola now. And they were trying to like humanize this like alien.
Yeah, this fucking reptile man.
Yeah.
There are 3 people interviewing him like a caveman hunting a mammoth.
I enjoy eating. I like to go to an A&W root beer and get a delightful soft serve ice cream. Then I personally oversee the eviction of people from my trailer parks that I own. It's the only thing that gives my ancient penis a direction.
I gotta hand it to. This is the one thing I gotta hand it to Joe Biden on. I was just thinking of. He's just been in the pocket of the fire sector for like 78 years, pretty much. And
his whole state is just
Yeah, his entire state of characters who are clipping through fence posts have reelected him to do this for about a century. And his net worth is that he's like $250,000 in debt.
He's doing it for
like,
the love of the
I
game.
truly believe him when he's like, Wall Street's good for America, because he's not getting a shit out of it.
Yeah, he just
he's getting
really
campaign
believes in
donations, but he's like Mitch McConnell. He doesn't lift a fucking finger without like some just, blubbernecked piece of shit giving him an oil field in Kazakhstan under an escrow.
Mm-hmm.
But Joe, they're just giving him a coaster. He's in it for the love of the game.
Yeah.
He will turn this country into just a fucking feudal hamlet overruled by insurance companies in order for him to just wear a fucking engineer's cap on the Amtrak.
Yeah,
That's all he
he's a
cares
true
about.
believer, and in many ways, he is very much like a Trump that hasn't been copied too many times.
Wells Fargo gives him a bank calendar, and he thinks, best deal I ever made.
Joe Biden in the Senate, just every legislative session would like pass a bill through committee that was like, if the bank repossesses your house, all your kids are wards of the bank. And Wells Fargo and Citigroup and all them, they would just round Joe Biden up and they'd be like, Joe, any appetizer you want. And he'd be like, you just got to love the perks of the job.
He would do
He's
half
just
price
swimming
apps.
in debt. He's just swimming in debt because he keeps trying to like dig his own in-ground swimming pool and hitting the septic tank. And no, that is a little Marianne and Joe. You can't say he's a corrupt person, just moral, but like
he's not cynical.
He's just an
idiot.
dope. He's a fucking
he's an
Joe
up-jumped
Biden's
NPC.
a bimbo with hair plugs.
Oh my God, his teeth. I mean, I talk a lot about the teeth because that's my new phrenology now. Is that, I mean, I said from the beginning, Beto, you could tell how evil he was from the teeth. Now we have Buttigieg with his terrible gerbil teeth. Biden's caps are the most alarming.
He looks like Matt Dillon and There's Something About Mary.
Biden's cosmetic surgeries are like he was trying not to get fired as the lead in a soap opera for 40 years.
The way you know that Biden
he looks
is
like a weatherman.
The way you know that Biden is an absolute, just glassy-eyed psycho in some way is that if you look at any footage of him when he ran for president the first time in 1988, when he had the brain hemorrhage and then he plagiarized Neil Kinnock's speeches and got bounced with disgrace, one of the worst campaigns ever. And you look at his hairline, and then you look at it now. This guy was in front of the entire nation with just this absolutely arid scrubland of hair at the top, at the front of his head, just a Chernobyl exclusion zone of decimation. And then he just shows up one day in the middle of the night. He's like, "Hi, everybody, what's going on?" It's all back.
Yeah.
It's like, how the fuck are you going to pull that shit?
He pulled a
miracle.
pivot. He pulled a pivot.
How are you going to?
And he's like, "I dare you to say
Only the
something.
biggest psycho does
I dare
that.
you to say something."
Yeah, because like every normal person, it's like, you know what? I should have seen that. I didn't really pay attention to this, and now it's too late.
Yeah.
Now everyone knows. Only a complete maniac is like, fuck it. I am going to brazen this out and dare you to fucking comment on it.
It's equivalent to if Beto, like, when he loses, he comes back in 8 years, and he just looks exactly like Boy West Coast. He's bald. He has a goatee. There are bandanas everywhere. He's speaking sort of like an East Bay Mexican guy accent. Like, what the fuck? He's like, no, this is how I've always been.
I could definitely see him wearing a do-rag at some point to try to like get down with some local voters.
Start calling them Eshe.
Joe Biden and Beto challenge each other to a wave check.
Don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's funny.
So my ultimate prediction, the thing about Biden winning out of just pure cynicism, that's a joke prediction. My real prediction for the primary is that the Night King, Hickenlooper, and the last dragon, Amy Tu Targaryen, will do Holy Battle in Winterfell, St. Paul, Minnesota.
Song of Ice and Fire, baby.
Sure.
Just one other thing from this New York Magazine piece, sort of very similar to the New York Times pieces. It's captured the way Bernie Sanders just has fuck you money at this point.
Oh,
like his ability to raise money.
My money, real good.
is not just freaking these people out because like nobody's courting that, like he doesn't have to come and kiss their ass or then adopt positions that are palatable to them,
or go to Lloyd Blankfein's fucking summer house in the Hamptons for a chicken dinner.
It's also sort of displacing their sense of social worth. And I just want to read this part. It says here, meanwhile, parts of the Democratic field were doing the same, with candidates focused on building Sanders-style small donor email-driven fundraising machine. Sanders raised $10 million that way in just his first week as a candidate. It's kind of stunning how a bunch of these people running for president haven't gotten a hold of a list of top past contributors and said, "What can I do to get this person?" fumed a hedge fund honcho out of the loop for the first time in 2 decades. It's sort of basic political IQ. Everyone wants to seem relevant, one prominent investor told me, but for the first time, he or any of his friends could remember, we're just not fucking relevant. We're not that big a deal anymore. None of us. A lot of the donor community is worried about losing their presidential perks and ambassadorial gigs to baristas, said veteran New York Democratic fundraiser Roger Zimmerman.
Oh my
This
God.
has really affected the donor
they
community.
interviewed the
It's
fucking
torn them apart.
Monopoly man.
Yeah, they're doing violence to the spaces of donor Americans, and
Yeah.
I don't think that's right.
As a donor American.
But I like that he has like losing it to baristas. Like a lot of their guys, like baristas are their biggest enemy.
Yeah, of course.
Like it's their biggest like sort of social enemy, and like the person they interact with who's like lowest than them on a totem pole
Yeah.
that they still have to deal with or
Right.
feel on the
Yeah.
hook to some
Right.
way.
Right.
That's why
It's
barista-
Brett with one T.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Dude,
You
I'm
could if
so,
you get
I'm
too
so
mad at
sick
them.
of I'm so sick of these hipster baristas talking down to me and my Wall Street friends. They're at Starbucks, they're listening to Justin fucking Bieber. They're rocking out to Mumford and Sons. I'm so sick of these hipster baristas.
Speaking of small donors and the staggering amount of money that Sanders and now other people are trying to raise from this model of getting a little from a lot based on like email and turnout. And
Sanders
things like
with something like 400,000 small donors right now.
fucking baristas.
Yeah.
There's
They're really small.
They're gonna fucking
They're
get in there and
they're
they're
like
gonna carry-
under 4 foot.
They're gonna
They're-
carry out their fucking barista agenda on all of us.
You're so tiny. My donors are so tiny. I want to put you in my pocket. Ah.
They're
My-
small beans.
My,
This is I saw this really great take today on Bernie Sanders, money making. This is courtesy of the National Review and Jay Cost under the headline "The Problem with Sanders' Small Donors." Subhead: He is now winning the money race thanks to activists. But do we want voters on the fringe setting a party's course? Which is the answer is if you're the National Review and talking about the Republican Party, yes, absolutely.
But what does the fringe mean? Like he has more donors.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
assuming-
not the fringe.
I'm
That's the
assuming-
masses.
but I think they mean that they don't have any money, and so therefore
but
they
that's
really don't.
not what the fringe means.
No, the fringe. I think they mean in a normative sense is that you have the people who deserve to have a say in politics because they have worth by virtue of their wealth, and the people who don't have any, and as such should not be making any kind of decisions or having any influence on politics.
But that's like reverse engineering a definition of populism by income.
Yeah, they love it.
He goes, he says here, the corporate titans gave to politics not out of kindness of their own hearts, but to acquire access to government that the average person does not possess. This kind of financing strikes at the core of our Republican ideal that every citizen should be equal as far as the government is concerned. And since the progressive era, there have been countless efforts to bring the special interests to heel.
Which we have opposed at every step.
The emergence of the internet has created a legitimate alternative, which Sanders is making the most of. Rather than politics financed by special interests, Sanders is drawing funds from an army of local activists whose commitment to the cause induces them to chip in $20 here or $40 there. Taken individually, the activists cannot compete with lobbyists from the telecommunications or healthcare industries, but their numbers are so vast that in some, they can propel Sanders into the front of the money race. Call me a contrarian, but I have my doubts about this mode of financing too. Again,
He doesn't have any fucking doubts about the other mode of fucking financing. That's horseshit.
Obviously not. His name is Jay Cost. He wears a blazer with dollar bills on
I'm
it.
sure this guy.
I'm familiar with Jay Cost. He's one of those finance guys who just has like an uncreative writer named him.
I'm sure that when he opened the newspaper to see the Citizens United decision, a single tear rolled down his fucking cheek.
He goes, I have my doubts about that. Yeah, let's leave that aside. He goes, again, stipulating that donors have access or influence that average voters do not possess. Is it really better for activists to be the main source of finance? Corporate lobbyists are going to invest in politics for their stockholders' interests, but activists have a wide array of ideological views that are often out of step with the rest of society. The Sanders voters in particular are far to the left of the average American, and probably the average Democrat too. We complain so much about political polarization these days, and I think with good reason. But to what extent does the polarization in the last generation lead back to this revolution in campaign finance? Are grassroots extremists pulling candidates to the ideological fringes by increments of $20 apiece? It's very possible. Again, like Amber, as you bring up, his definition of fringe here seems to swing wildly back between masses of people of which are so numerous that not even the millions of dollars from corporate lobbyists can compete with, but they also happen to hold views that are entirely fringe, like Medicare for all, of course, which is, a fringe view held by about 70% of voters in this country.
Yeah. Well, I think, he's just saying that they're motivated, and being motivated makes you a
suspect.
A glassy-eyed psycho.
But again,
motivation is sus.
But like
the only motivation that can be trusted is self-interest, like all of these rich assholes.
No, but
who are paying for things.
forget self-interest. Like William F. Buckley and the National Review was founded to make sure that the fringe of the conservative movement took over the Republican Party, and they did.
Yeah.
And they've changed American politics because of it. And then now that if Sanders wasn't raising any money and was just like another Dennis Kucinich, they wouldn't have to come up with a new narrative about how actually small money donors are bad. So he closes this out by here saying, all of this speaks to some inconvenient truths that Americans have failed to fully grok. I love when people use that word.
All right, nerd.
Politics is
you
very
don't even need a different word for it. We
Grasp
have
is right
multiple
there.
words for it.
There's so many words that fit there.
Politics is very expensive. Somebody has to pay for it, and whoever does is going to get special access. Who do we want those persons to be? Special interests, activists, someone else? We collectively don't know, as we tend not to think that much about campaign finance. Maybe if a socialist captures the Democratic nomination this cycle, we'll think a little more clearly about whether we want our local hippies bankrolling politics.
Local hippies.
I think he says, who do we want, running politics? Special interests or activists? It's like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Do you want like a bunch of people collectively coming together around an idea of a public good that they are not personally invested in, but is, the product of their lived experience about like the troubles of living in this decaying capitalist hellscape, or just guys who their entire livelihood and the livelihood of their idiot fucking kids depends on the world being drained of all its resources and turned into a fucking cinder. I wonder. I'm having a hard time. Can't think of it.
So that Bernie money is,
real good.
It's money real good.
His money's real good.
Real good right now.
And it's causing a lot of agita among.
I want him to do a Instagram thing of him going to a buffet and just pressing like the soft drink dispenser and having it come out Spending my money real good right now.
Well, we
He
also
would never debase himself in such a way.
no. We also have the great photo of him shopping this weekend.
Oh, it was great.
Getting some Progresso
Some
soup and
Yeah,
Scope
yeah,
mouthwash.
yeah. When Bernie makes it rain, he just pours soup directly onto his driveway.
Watch the sodium, Bernie. That's all I'm saying.
So yeah, no, he is the amount of money and the polling he continues to pull continues to give people a lot of heartburn, and I hope it continues to do so. And I more than anything, I hope he does get the nomination. So everyone who is going to spend probably the next month just angrily interrogating you, like, will you support the Democrat? Will you support the Democrat? Defeating Trump is the most important thing ever. Having to find a way to back out of that rather
Actually, it
shoddy
turns out
moral commitment.
Howard Schultz all along. I had no idea he was such a brilliant visionary. I feel I have to support him.
And the apotheosis of that is this thing I've been seeing going around this weekend. It's being pushed by Alyssa Milano and George Takei, but they're trying
Titans.
They're trying to George Takei.
Oh my God!
George
Those
Takei,
are the
right?
two.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alyssa Milano and George Takei are trying to get people to sign on to a pledge to not say anything bad about any of the candidates running for president. I assume they mean Democratic candidates.
Yeah.
But they're like, will you sign a pledge now to
No, I will not do that.
to not criticize any of the Democratic candidates?
I criticize my best friends. There's no way I would not criticize. Like, that's an absurd expectation. Also, what relationship do you have to politicians? Like,
Well, I mean, I think what they seem to think is that, like, again, back to the Bernie Hillary thing, they seem to think that Bernie's critiques of Hillary made her unelectable.
Yeah.
So they're like, if no one criticizes each other or attacks each other at
Right.
all, then, like, no matter who emerges will be
we present a unified front.
they will emerge sort of like a shimmering being of light.
I mean, that's the thing. On the one hand, this does seem like a very cynical ploy to try to protect corporate Democrats like Joe Biden from the sort of interrogation of the record that might lead people who haven't really been paying too much attention until now to be like, oh, this guy actually sucks, and I don't want to elect him, like what happened to Joe Lieberman, among others. But on the other hand, a campaign with no criticism and no negative talk about any of the candidates kind of sounds like good vibes to me. You know, it just sounds like a campaign of like just chill, cool vibes where we're all just sitting around talking about, you know, what could we do about
Well,
this
I mean,
stuff?
I would want to go one step further and say, let's just not talk about any of the candidates. Let's just talk about our emotional states.
Mhm.
You know, just share that.
Yeah.
That's very
We
Marianne
can
of
just
you.
talk about how we feel.
Well, as you said, like they're going to do a debate thing where it's selected randomly because there are so many people. Like, it's sort of not fair to do like the tiered system.
Yeah.
They learned that the last time.
And with Marianne on the Marianne debate, I think you said like they should just come out and just say "I love you." They should just like.
I see this pledge as a very cynical way to stop Marianne. Honestly, like, I don't think it's negative rhetoric, but Marianne knows exactly the time and in exactly the manner every candidate will die in. And this is one of her biggest advantages. If she gets on that debate stage and she goes up to, like, you know, Jay Inslee and is like, you know, cardiac arrest, age 90, surrounded by two of your least favorite nieces.
No.
He's just dead, you know, stops in his tracks.
No, that's dark magic. That's what Hickenlooper practices. Just
yeah, but I
drinking
mean,
the
Marianne knows some dark magic. Otherwise, she'd be helpless against Hickenlooper.
No, Hickenlooper, you know, he goes to the rituals and he drinks the fucking fracking fluid and he reads the entrails of all the animals killed by fracking, and that's how he gets his portents.
What if Hickenlooper and Williamson form, like, they don't become running mates. It's not like a Cruz Fiorina thing, but it's like, for this stage of the primaries, they have a non-aggression pact. Like, they're sort of the magic caucus.
Yeah.
What if a shadow baby is birthed to attack one of the candidates? Who is the most vulnerable to a shadow baby attack? Maybe Beto. I don't know.
The shadow baby could cast a spell to project the image of a tunnel on the side of a brick wall, and then Joe Biden just runs right into it.
Yeah.
Here's my proposal for the debates. At the start of it and at the end, everyone kisses. They all kiss. They all pair off and they kiss.
How about
I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to be impartial. That favors Williamson. Who do you think's the best at love energy?
How about this? Instead of a debate, a cuddle puddle.
Yeah, they should all be on just like, remember the podiums. No podiums, just they're all hanging out on nice pillows.
Yeah.
Just all-
No, they should have bean bags. Beto
everyone-
can't stand on one of those. No
They all
unfair
take
advantage.
Molly beforehand. How about that? Everyone
Okay.
takes Molly, and then they all
Okay.
just talk about their feelings.
Could you imagine what Amy Klobuchar would say if she was feeling particularly good vibrations?
Amy Klobuchar would show why psychedelics don't work because she'd just come up with new ways to abuse people. It would just open up her third eye, and she'd be like, "Oh, I can staple someone's sleeve to the desk and hit them." Be like the tech guys who go on ayahuasca journeys and come up with new ways to overwork people.
yeah.
Or it's such a powerful experience for her, so overwhelming to have, her sort of inhibitions removed that she ends up snapping Tim Ryan's neck like Lenny with the fucking rabbits.
I mean, yeah, maybe, who am I to say? Maybe she takes LSD or Molly and she just completely loses it. We've seen Amy we've never seen before. And she comes out there and she just has a policy proposal so crazy. It's something like, I think middle-class families should be able to refinance their medical debt.
Oh, wow. You're crazy for this one, Amy.
After traveling through the 2001 monolith,
Yeah.
she came back with that gem.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I'm kind of into this. We might see a new Amy.
Let Amy be Amy.
Let Amy be Amy.
Let
What do you say?
Amy
Should
be
we-
Amy.
Yeah.
Should we let Chapo be Chapo?
We
Let
should
Chapo
also
be
do that.
Chapo.
Chapo can only be Chapo.
It's true.
I gotta take a shower. My ass stank.
All right. Well, do we have any plugs before we leave?
Yeah, the European tour, the American Expeditionary Farce, is coming to your town. There's only 5 towns in Europe, so fortunately we're hitting them all. London is sold out. Thank you, London. We might be adding a second show. Glasgow and Berlin both sold out, I
Good
believe.
Lord.
But tickets are still available in Dublin and Manchester. Go to
Yeah.
chapotraphouse.com/tour.
Yeah,
one
if you want
more,
to be a
this
bloody
one-
gooner and a legend and a supporter of the greatest sport, it's forever known as mankind, AYSO, come out and see us in Manchester, the city of football. Further plugs, May 19th at the Hideout in Chicago, episode 1. Me, Bertovo, and CJ will be guest starring.
This Wednesday, May 1st.
Housing Works?
Housing Works. Chapo
Manhattan?
Housing Works in Manhattan.
Sold out.
Oh, it's sold out.
All right.
There might be a standby. I don't
Dude.
know.
Bloody fool.
Also, I will be at the Strand. This probably won't go up in time.
It's going out
tomorrow.
tonight.
Okay. Well, I'll be at the Strand tomorrow to host Bhaskar Sankara's book launch, The Socialist Manifesto. It's at 7 o'clock. I'm going to ask him the hard-hitting questions.
What about Venezuela?
I'm going to ask him about Venezuela. I'm going to ask him about how he feels about Apu.
Why do you have an iPhone?
Yeah. It's a good
What's
fun
up with the
book and
Knicks?
shut-
Ask
yeah.
him about that.
Well, yeah. So come on out. It'll be fun. It's a good book, good conversation.
Felix, isn't E1 coming to the Bell House?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
I'm doing his
I
plug
thought it
for
was like kind of early to plug that. Let me check. July 22nd at the Bell House.
That's what's up.
Do you guys want to be on that, by the way?
Yeah,
Andrew
sure,
Branson
yeah.
asked me.
Okay, yeah.
Till next time, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Look, my bitches all bad, my niggas all real. I ride in dick in some big tall hills, big fat checks, big large bills. Run out, flip like 10 car wheels. Cold ass bitch, I give raw chills. 10 different looks, and my lips so kill. I kiss them in the mouth, I feel all grills. Heat in the car, that smells on wheels. Woo! I was born to flex. Yes. Diamonds on my neck. I like boarding jets, I like more than sex. But nothing in this world that I like more than checks. Money. All I really wanna see is the money. I don't really need a D, I need the money. All a bad bitch need is the money. I got bands in the coop, bustin' out the roof. I got bands in the coop. Touch me, I'll shoot. Bow, shake a little ass. Money. You get a little bag and take it to the store. Money. Get a little cash. Money. You shake it real fast, you get a little more. I got bands in the coop, bustin' out the roof. I got bands in the coop.